are 4 of 5 road shows that we have been through the county. And so that you know, the impetus behind this was we're seeing more and more children being exploited over the internet. We see more and more children that are watching these TikTok challenges, YouTube challenges, and they end up in handcuffs. So there's 2 parts to this presentation. Part number 1 is from my child exploitation unit. They're going to show you what's out there. There's plenty of literature. Please help yourself to protect your children. I'm glad to see we have some young folks in the audience tonight who could probably put some enlightenment into this conversation. So be able to do that. And then when they're done, DCF is going to come up and give you an overview of what human trafficking looks like in the state of Florida. And it's real. So we had an incident, if I'll go real quickly through our incidents. We had an incident where a 15-year-old in Oak Hill believes she's online chatting with a 16 or 17-year-old, and they make arrangements to hook up after school. They hook up, and it's quite obvious from her friends that he's not 15 or 16 or 17 years old. He's much older. He winds up taking her to a hotel on US 1 where he sexually assaults her. I wish I could show you the body camera footage, because when the deputies track down where she's at, and they pound on the door, and that hotel room door opens, or motel room door opens, that little girl runs and dives into Deputy Royce James's arms, because she was just so relieved that what had happened was now over. The second incident we had, and there's more incidents, they'll tell you, but the ones that stick out is the one we just had last month. Young 12-year-old in Pennsylvania is chatting with what she believes to be a 16 or 17-year-old in Cocoa Beach, and they decide that they're going to hook up when she comes down to visit Grandma in Deltona. Well, it turns out that he's 29 years old, and when Grandma goes to bed, she invites him over, and obviously what happens isn't really a good thing for a 12-year-old to happen to a 12-year-old. And when you read the text messages that were sent from this guy the next day that he sends the 12-year-old because he wants to come back to the house and continue what he did to her, a porn movie would be more tame than what he had sent to this 12-year-old. And then lastly, we had the 11-year-old who thought it would be funny to prank 911 and say that her friend was kidnapped, point a gun. They were in a white van. They were duct taped. They're headed southbound on 95. She's providing all the mile markers. So needless to say, the helicopter goes up. Every East Side Police Department is up on 95, scouring the exits, looking for this van. She's texting 911, texting all these tips in, and she makes a mistake and calls 911, which gives us her location. And we go to the house, we discover that she had saw this on YouTube and thought it'd be really, really funny to prank 911. And we're working on the bill. I don't think the family's going to be too happy when they see what the bill was to that response to that hoax. So what I will tell you is these folks that work in our child exploitation unit are known statewide for their prowess and for their reputation of hunting down these scumbags that are online going after our children. So with that, Detective Lance LeMay, I will turn it over to you. Don't be afraid to ask any questions, because whatever you ask, people learn from those things. So Lance, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the City of DeBary for putting this together and having us here. I know with the storm coming, there's a lot of different ways to spend the night, but we appreciate you all being here with us. My name is Lance LeMay. I am a detective with the Sheriff's Office, and I have been with the Sheriff's Office now for almost 20 years. Most of my time has been in investigations, and the last 5, 6 or so years have been in child exploitation. And before I talk about what child exploitation, what that unit does, I'm going to show you a quick video on the screens about some of our work and explain it to you after.
No sound on that.
when I first watched it, was like light talking behind it, but I heard it the last one. There you go. There was background music, wasn't it?
Okay, so what you saw, obviously, were videos of people being arrested, various takedowns, vehicles at a house. Anybody have any idea what those people were doing? They were traveling to meet a young child for sex. So part of what child exploitation does is technology-oriented crimes related to children. And those people there, we were doing our chatter ops. We don't advertise, obviously, when or where, but we have undercovers pretending to be children, and all those people were talking to the undercovers and eventually agreed, knowing the child's age and everything like that, agreed to travel to meet that child or who they thought was a child for sex here in Volusia County. So what does the Child Exploitation Unit do at the Sheriff's Office? Well, we are responsible for every sex offense for somebody 17 and younger. So every juvenile sex offense, that can be something from a hands-on offender, a case involving a caregiver, a relative, or a family friend, or somebody like that. It also do the technology-related crimes where somebody is using computers, cell phones, tablets, trying to solicit a child for sex, trying to solicit the child to send photos, or just otherwise using technology to try to exploit a child. ICAC is a term you're going to see a little bit tonight. That's Internet Crimes Against Children. I'll explain more about that in a second. And then also attached to our unit is a digital forensics unit. And we have a team that all they do is process computers, tablets, cell phones, anything electronic that can be processed for digital evidence. We have guys that's what they do full time. Stuff from like the chatter ops and the guys that you saw just get arrested, their devices are confiscated. We do court orders, we process their devices, and we get the chats and everything from their cell phones too. Internet crimes against children. So throughout the U.S., there are ICAC related or ICAC task forces. And ICAC task forces are comprised of state, federal, local law enforcement and prosecutors that are working to develop a response to technology-oriented crimes regarding the exploitation of children. So they're all throughout the U.S. It can be anything from training, public education events like we're doing now, grant money, or chatter ops. So when we do chatter ops, we can bring people from all over the state of Florida. We can have as many as 25, 30 chatters, and that's just part of being in the ICAC task force. The Volusia Sheriff's Office is part of the North Florida Task Force, which is hosted in Gainesville. And all that means is there's a person in Gainesville who assigns cases to us, to our ICAC investigators. And I'll explain that a little bit more. At the core, at the heart of Internet Crimes Against Children is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. What they do is they are a global clearinghouse of resources for law enforcement, for parents, for kids, educators, You may have seen something in the mail, like "Have you seen me?" of a missing child, and it'll have like a photo of the child when they were young, and then like an age progressed photo. That's stuff that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children does. They also operate the cyber tip line, and the cyber tip line is where we get reports of people transmitting, sending, and receiving child pornography. That can be adults sending it, that could be children sending it. But it all gets operated by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The reports come in through the tip line, either generated by companies online like Facebook, Instagram, Meta, Snapchat. Those companies electronically report child pornography to the National Center, and it gets filtered down to the appropriate law enforcement agency. 99.5% of the tips, the reports that are generated, are regarding child pornography. It's called CSAM, child sexual abuse material, but it's child pornography. 2022, 32 million reports for last year. That's how many reports that the tip line processed. For the sheriff's office, what we see here monthly on average is about 65. And again, that is adults transmitting child pornography. That could also be children transmitting photos or videos of stuff that they've taken that they are sending to somebody else. The tip line also does online reports of exploitation. So if somebody is chatting with what Facebook believes is a child, trying to get them to do something that they aren't supposed to be doing, or to send photos, or to send videos, or to even meet for sex, that generates a tip. And that's part of the 65 that we see here in Volusia. We do get reports like that too. Sextortion, things like that, are also reports that are generated through the tip line. So on average, we see about 65. I'm going to show you another video that was put together by members of the ICAC task force, and they're going to talk about a few things, and then we'll talk about it at the end of the video. And then I'll tell you locally what's going on here in the county.
The best tool we have to prevent internet crimes against children is education. Internet safety for children requires a dedicated effort to learn how child predators behave online and how to work in collaboration with the ICAC task force to protect children from potential risks.
The internet's a dangerous place, and people who are out there seeking to abuse children, seeking to exploit children are everywhere. There's nowhere to hide from them. You're not going to get away from them. You can't bury your head in the sand and hope it doesn't happen to you. If a child has kind of unfettered access to the internet, the possibility, the probability that they will see adult content is high.
Tragically, at the moment, what we are seeing globally is a rise in sexual offences. This is playing out in a far more sinister way than anything I've dealt with in my life. Where we are losing kids that are taking their lives because of sextortion.
I know that through my talks, I get a lot of people that tell me it could never happen. My kid, it could never happen because my kid's a good kid. And I found it can happen to anyone, and the more that I talk to people, I want them to understand my kid was a straight A student, he was Eagle Scout, he was all that, and it still happened to them. You cannot assume that it won't happen to your child.
Well, there are two types of sextortion. Sexually based sextortion, where all they want is more images or more contact with the victim. And then there's financial sextortion, where they want the victim who is sent explicit images to send them money, or they will be exposing that image or video to their friends and network. The child who is a victim of financial sextortion is typically a male, age 14 to 17. The child who is a victim of sexually based sextortion is typically a female, age 10 to 17.
This type of crime really crosses all socioeconomic statuses. So it is not the stereotypical offender that you might have heard or might think. It really could be anyone.
Unfortunately, criminals find right to this space online in order to take advantage of the real vulnerabilities of young people. They want to connect, they want for opportunity, they want for creating connections of their own. And often they're looking for validation, and this makes them very easy targets
for criminals looking for vulnerabilities to be able to access the life of an innocent young person.
What is the best way to keep our kids safe online? And the answer to that is to learn their language, learn what they're doing online.
There's never like too young of an age to start. I used to be a first grade teacher, and my first graders were on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. So there's never, a bad age to start discussing this and what's okay to share online and what's not.
It's really about having an open dialogue. It's about arming your child with the ability to say no, with the ability to protect themselves. Technology is not the problem. Technology is neutral. It is a tool that can be used for great good as well as harm.
So for kids, if you receive a nude photo or video, you don't know where it came from or it came as a joke, don't be part of the problem. Don't perpetuate the cycle of cyberbullying, and don't add to it.
There's a very strong link between cyberbullying and sexting issue as well. Oftentimes they go hand in hand.
Oftentimes, when it comes to news, right, and being a female and working with female youth, there is that pressure or that perceived pressure that my peers are sexting, that everyone is doing it. It's very understandable why, sending an image like that is something you might want to do. But a couple things I would say about it. Number one is that most youth are not doing that. So if your reason for sending a sex image, sending a nude to someone else is that you think everyone else is doing it, research study after research study shows us that less than half, usually about 20% of kids have ever sent an image like that.
If you're being sextorted online, you should report that individual to the platform or the app where they're contacting you. But it's important that you don't delete your profile or your messages because there can be really important information for law enforcement to use in their case.
In all contact with whoever you were talking with, try to archive any of the messages that you have as best as you can, and then report it to somebody, whether it is a friend, whether it is a counselor, a teacher, your mother, your father, and then after that, report to the police. The main thing that the police need to do an investigation is the user's names and passwords.
Let's commit to staying vigilant and working together to keep our children safe online. Whether you're a law enforcement officer, a social worker, a parent, or a young person yourself, take steps to learn and teach others about internet safety. Together, we can create a safer digital environment for children. For more information and resources, please visit www.icactaskforce.org.
Okay, so what you saw there is ICAC members from all over, from everywhere from California to Australia that participated in that video because they are seeing these cases everywhere. And like I told you, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children operates globally and operates the cyber tip line globally. We're seeing this stuff everywhere. So what are we seeing here in Volusia County? Very first case up there was one of my first cases when I got in child exploitation. There was a 8-year-old girl who was asked to send nude photos and videos of herself, and she did. And she was actually taking the tablet into the bathroom, into the shower. The person on the other end then asked her, well, go in your mom's purse and send me a photo of her driver's license, and the little girl did. This 8-year-old met this person on the other end in a game that was on the Play Store, the App Store, designed specifically for children. Well, why is that important? Because the adults know if they want to find children, they need to go to the children's games. So that's how this particular person found her. We never could identify the person at the other end. I'll tell you, a lot of these times, these companies, these games, these app developers don't operate in the U.S. or aren't based in the U.S. This company was operated overseas, and they didn't care. There's no legal process you serve. There's nobody that you email and ask for help. They don't care. We had a sex offender in DeLand who was on Instagram messaging numerous children, and he always had the same opening line, hey, saw your photo, you look cute, add me back. And he just sent that to so many people, and a lot of juvenile females were adding him back. he would direct the conversation towards sex, and he would say, well, you know, I'm older than you. If you have any questions about your body, if you have any questions about dating, you know, if you ever need any advice, I can help you. I'll be glad to help you. Well, some girls responded to that, and they did ask him questions, and then he would direct their conversation to sexual in nature topics, ask them for photos, eventually ask them for videos. Well, how did this guy get caught? He actually sent, and I see kids in the audience, so I'll keep it kind of PG, but he sent adult toys to her house in another state. He was that bold that he sent toys to her and said, use these, make videos, and send me the videos back. Luckily, the parents intercepted the package, realized what it was. The law enforcement out there reached out to us. We were able to identify him. The detective in the back, Amanda Cludier, who was my partner, she actually identified him, realized he was a sexual predator. He's in jail. But got to pay attention. We had an adult, again, this case was actually here in DeBary. We had an adult male who met a minor 15-year-old female on TikTok, and after some time convinced her to travel to DeBary to have sex. He paid for an Uber, brought her up here. He lied about his age, brought her up here. After they had sex, he walked her to the gate of his community and said, you're on your own to find your way back. We got involved because her family was reporting her missing in Polk because they didn't know where she was at. She called because she said, hey, I'm up here stranded. I need somebody to get me back, you know, in touch with my parents. We didn't know anything about the time until she returned home, and it was reported days later. But again, lied about his age, and they met on TikTok, another widely popular social media app right now. A lot of kids are live streaming on Twitch. Most of the time it's kids playing video games, and they stream that, and it's supposed to be for other kids to watch them play the game and make comments and stuff like that. There's also more and more kids, more and more young females that are live streaming on Twitch also. And what people are asking them to do are various dances or various challenges. That the girls are very young, they don't know that it's anything bad. So the people on the other end will convince them, well, I want you to dance around for me and expose certain parts or bend a certain way or lay on the floor and do certain things. Because the person on the other end is what they want to see. They're not going to get reported because they're keeping it fairly PG, not overly sexual in nature, but it's enough for them for whatever gratification they want. They're able to talk the kids into doing this. We talked about, or the video talked about sextortion. That is on the rise. We have not had any suicides here yet, but it has happened nationally. And the sextortion is somebody at the other end. Again, we're seeing very young boys and girls reaching out or talking to somebody on Instagram or Snapchat. And then they ask, well, you know, I like you, send me photos, we'll exchange photos. The kids are exchanging the photos. And then after the person on the other end gets all the photos, all the videos that they want, they tell them, well, you're going to do this for me. You're going to either send me money or you're going to make me more. And if you don't, what's happening? They're threatening them. They're threatening to ruin their lives. They're actually writing that, I'm going to destroy your life if you don't do what I tell you to do. And because they've been internet friends for so long, they know their friends, they know their family because they've added each other on social media. So somebody here thinks, well, I have an internet boyfriend, and we exchange photos and we exchange videos. And then all of a sudden that person flips and says, you're going to do more stuff for me. It's because the person on the other end is not who they obviously said that they were. I just wrapped one of these up. The suspect is in Nigeria. Nothing we can do with it. We see a lot of those internationally. The FBI just did extradite 2 people from Nigeria for sextortion cases. So we report it to them. They track it however they can, but a lot of the times there's nothing we can do because these people go out of their way or operate out of a different country. We get, of the 65 reports that I talked about earlier through the cyber tip line, we are seeing a rise of both males and females uploading photos and videos of themselves completely nude. They're uploading it to TikTok, YouTube, mostly TikTok and YouTube, but they are either doing the the TikTok dance videos, completely in the nude, taking phones, tablets into the bathroom and exposing their entire body and then uploading it. That is that is on the rise, and the kids seem to be getting younger and younger. So far it's nothing that anybody's forcing them to do, but somewhere they get the idea, I'm gonna make a photo or a video, a funny photo or a funny video, expose my genitals and then put it on the internet for everybody to see. What we also see sometimes happen is they use the parent's phone, and then the parents find out because their accounts are closed. So a lot of the times the kids will take mom or dad's phone into the bathroom, make a video, upload it to YouTube. YouTube flags it, closes that account out for child pornography, and the next thing you know, we're looking at trying to identify who's at the other end of this Google account. You see that on the news. There's been more and more reports, people complaining, well, Google locked me out of my account. It's probably because your kid uploaded a photo or video. And most of the time when we go talk to the parents, they had no idea it was even done. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they have no idea. Well, yeah, Google closed my account, but they didn't tell me why. Okay, well, I know why, because here's the photo of your son or daughter that they uploaded. Resources, there's QR codes up there, but everything that I talk about up here is going to be on the table over there. There's specifically just a sheet of QR codes. These are different apps, websites that you can use. This one I like, dfinow.org. They have comprehensive app guides on their website, free to download. I think it's almost 40 pages long, but they go through all the different apps. They update it for every school year. All the different apps that you need to pay attention to, along with the icons of what it looks like, so you can see. If you see an app on your kid's phone and you don't know what it is, open it, because most of the time it'll have a splash screen and it'll tell you what it is. But if you don't want to open it for whatever reason, check the guide and see if you can find it in the guide. They also have different things for parental controls. A lot of different information out there for parental controls. We don't talk about it here tonight because every situation is different. You may have an iPhone, you may have an Android. They have guides for both. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, there's different apps that are going to do different things, and they're going to do them better for you depending on your device at home. And they also have other stuff. They have stuff about vaping, distracted driving, and things like that, but they update it on a regular basis. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, that's what we talked about earlier. This is the company, the organization that runs the cyber tip line. They have a lot of resources on there geared towards different age groups for children. If you go on their website and you see something called Net Smarts, that is different activities, different programs, videos. They have presentations, but I wouldn't sit your kid down and make him go through a presentation. But they have different videos and stuff that you can sit down and go over with your children and show them kind of what's going on and how to be better prepared and more aware of the people that are out there. Protect Young Eyes. When the incident with a person from Cocoa first happened, I think we announced this one fairly quick. It's just another comprehensive app guide. If you don't see it on DFI Now, look at Protect Young Eyes, and maybe you'll find what you're looking for on there also. One of the things that I didn't mention about the cases, the examples that we were talking about earlier, what's going on, all those apps have chat within the apps. That is kind of the biggest thing you need to pay attention to, like the game for that 8-year-old where she met the guy online. There was chat within the application, so she could play the game and then chat with this guy. Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, they all have chat. So you can be in the app and then chat, and this is where these people are coming to prey on the kids, because they know if I go to a children's game, there's chat, I can talk, I can maybe move that child over to Snapchat, maybe move that child over to Instagram. I've seen people lay out instructions on how to delete browser history to young children so they don't get caught. Chatting is one of the biggest problems with any of these apps, but if you look at these guides, they're going to go a little bit more in depth. Lastly, the Sheriff's Office website. It's going to have the links to some of the sites that we talked about earlier. It's also going to have information about sexual offenders, sexual predators, victim information, and stuff like that. I would say don't get hung up, though, on being paranoid about every sexual offender in your area and thinking that's the person that's going to reach out to my child. These people are all over the U.S., all over the globe. We've had suspects in the Netherlands. So yes, be aware of what sex predators or sex offenders live by your house, but don't get laser focused on just them. Remember, this is international. Look at the parental controls, see what's going to work best for you, whether it be something on your phone or your home internet, through your cell provider, AT&T, Verizon. They all have different options. And if you check out these sites, you're going to see some of the guides are going to explain a lot more to you. That's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Christy with DCF, and then I think we're going to have Q&A at the end. Yeah, okay.
Good evening. My name is Christy Gillis, and I am the Community Development Administrator with the Department of Children and Families, and I'm also the chair of our Freedom 7 Human Trafficking Task Force. For those of you that are not aware, Department of Children and Families does investigate human trafficking, so that's what I'm going to talk about. When law enforcement is investigating child exploitation, that's where Department of Children and Families will investigate human trafficking. The video. Oh.
Hey, we at? Anything somewhere around here? We need to talk or to drive. Okay.
Oh, there you go. So what is sexual exploitation? It's someone using power and control over someone and exploiting their vulnerabilities. When we talk about exploitation, it can be for money, it could be for a place to stay, it could be the promise of something. So this is, as I stated before, Department of Children and Families investigates human trafficking. So these are our numbers when we started investigating human trafficking. Unlike physical abuse or something to that effect, with human trafficking, you don't have to know who is trafficking that person. It can be an unknown. So as you can see, our numbers have been increasing since that maltreatment had been added to our abuse index. Back in 2020, we did have a slight decline in the number of cases that we investigated with human trafficking, but what happened at that point in time, we were on lockdown. So we also weren't going out and doing events like this. We're training and educating as well. So we talk about vulnerable populations, but really anyone can be vulnerable. When we talk about these exploiters, they're grooming children, and when I talk about exploiters or traffickers, sometimes other people will call them pimps as well. They can exploit anyone, but there are certain populations that have increased vulnerabilities. So what are some risk factors for recruitment? It could be really any child under the age of 18, walks to school alone, goes to the park alone. It could be someone that has access to social media that is not being monitored by individuals, also has a desire to become popular. And then here are things that we can watch out for. We talk about the lure. That's what initially happens. So trafficking doesn't happen right away. The recruiters will groom the children. It'll start out something innocent and small so that they can build their trust. Again, this is the lure. They pay special attention to them, offer them romance, support, glamour, the life, gonna meet new people, new peers. They will sell you, again, in regards to that glamour, sell them the idea of glamour. They can be popular, they can be famous. They'll tell them that they love them. If you do this, it's because you love me. Again, and then what happens is, then becomes the payback. I did these things for you, now you need to do this for me. And this is a slow process. It doesn't happen right away. This is a video as well.
Here's another video for my special guy. I wanted to give you something special. Is this okay?
Thank you. I just want to share, prior to me coming to the Department of Children and Families, I used to work for a program here that used to provide services for victims of human trafficking, ages 10 to 24. I was in most every single high school. I was in most every single middle school working with youth that have been victimized. So it's in our community. It is here in our community. I had done this a couple of years ago. So I just want to make you aware that this is real and it's happening in our community. Social media and recruitment, again, we talked about it earlier. Law enforcement talked about it earlier. Again, traffickers will try to chat on different social media platforms, isolating those youth, again, pulling them into private chats. And so you just want to be aware of making sure that you're checking your kids' social media, making sure you're having those open conversations. One of the most important things to think about, if your child comes and talks to you about something that has happened, please listen to them. It's important that they have come to you and are sharing this information, and that we're not scolding them saying, you know, you shouldn't have done that. We need to make sure that we're listening so that we can report it to the authorities, report it to the Department of Children and Families, and that they're not scared to come and talk to you about it. So again, how can youth be safe online? Establish, again, that open communication. My coworker one time, kids playing video games, having their earphones on, because as I'm a parent of teenagers, we know the video games can be very loud. And the conversation that she had with her son was, he came to her and said, you know, Mom, there's something that's going on and it doesn't sound right. So she ended up putting on the headphones and listening to the conversation, and there was someone in another state that was asking for kids for pictures of siblings for gaming codes. So again, going back to those open conversations, the open dialogue that you can have, it doesn't have to be an exchange of money, it can be other items. But it was important that he felt comfortable enough to go and talk to his mom, who then was able to go report it to law enforcement, who ended up arresting a gentleman that was out of state. So again, instructing your kids, if someone is trying to talk to you, making sure that they can come and talk to you. Discourage use of webcams. Again, we just trying to make it, again, those open conversations, trying to make it more difficult for people to recruit our children. And then again, setting up those with the social media accounts, making sure that they aren't, that they actually know the person that they're friending, know the person that they have a conversation with. I know, and I go talk to my kids, who are you talking to? I'm talking to my friend. Well, who's your friend? Have I ever met them? Are they really your friend, or is it someone that you don't really know that you're having a conversation with? You know, when we talk about kids hanging out with their friends, it looks much different now than it used to be. Kids can hang, when I was younger, when I grew up on this side of town, we would go up to Burger King, and that's where we'd hang out and we decide what we want to do. Now, kids are communicating all on social media, all on the phones, so they can not leave their room and they're hanging out with their friends. So making sure you have the conversation, know who your kids' friends are, and making sure they're having the conversation with them. Do you really know this person? Again, I just want to reiterate how to talk to youth about the sextortion and the online safety. Please have that open conversation with their kid so that they can come to you, they can talk to you, you can report it to law enforcement. That's the biggest thing, is having the conversations with your kids, and so that they can come and talk to you, or your grandkids, or any other kids that you may be mentoring. Be that person that they can talk to, that safe person. So what to do if you suspect that an individual is being trafficked? If it's a child, you're going to report it to Department of Children and Families, 1-800-96-ABUSE. Again, you do not have to know who the person is that's on the other side or on the other line. It can be an unknown. That is a one maltreatment that can be an unknown. And I go out and do these talks, and many times, well, how do I really know it was happening? It's not for you to really know what's happening. It's for you to report it so that we can go out and we can investigate and we can work with law enforcement. And when we go out and investigate these cases, it's really about getting that child or getting that family the proper services that they need and getting them help. You can also report to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And then if it's an unsafe situation, call 911. Report it to law enforcement. Again, when I was working directly with trafficking victims, if someone had told me they were being trafficked, I would call law enforcement to go in and help that person. You never want to put yourself in an unsafe situation. And again, my name is Christy Gillis, and I'm with the Department of Children and Families. I'm also chair of the Freedom 7 Human Trafficking Task Force page. We put a lot of information on there, including free trainings, free education. We've gone around the past couple of years. We come here every January to talk about Human Trafficking Awareness Month. That's in January. We make sure that we put correct information on there. There's a lot of false information that goes around, so it's just an opportunity. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can hear about other education, trainings, and facts. Thank you.
Mayor, you want to, before we take Q&A, you want to?
I want to thank each one of you for coming out this evening. I wanted to make sure that as many people in our community knew that we were having this gathering as possible. This is a new world for most of us. We didn't grow up with these tools. We didn't grow up connected via phones and the internet. And it's very, very hard for us to understand what is going on, but if we're in charge of children in any way, shape, or form, it's our responsibility to understand how people with bad intentions can easily reach our children, which are our most precious things in our lives, the things that will be carrying and leading the world when we move on. And so I would encourage you to stay vigilant with children that you're involved with, whether they're your children or your grandchildren, children that trust you who are your neighbors. It takes all of us, because this is something that evolves quicker than you can imagine. When my children, who are in their 40s, were teenagers, it was pagers, you know? We are in some other world now, and it very rapidly changes. So I'm so glad that we had the opportunity and that all of these folks were willing to come and give a presentation. Hopefully you pick up some tools and a few ideas about how to keep your antennas up for the children that you are responsible for. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do want to introduce the commanding officer of District 6, which is you guys, is Captain Omar McKnight. And the handsome gentleman here who forgot his razor is Captain Todd Smith. He is our liaison to the school district, so he works closely with the district and the administration. So with that, any questions at all that you have, we'll do our best to answer. Please try to throw one at Amanda. She's hiding back there. She doesn't like the public speak.
My question is, I mean, this is great. My question is, this is great for the community, parents, and everybody else. But now, do you take this to the schools, right to the students, and they're never too young? If they're getting on the internet and they're doing all these things and that, is it being taught to like 8 years old and up what to watch for? Because you can tell the parents, but if the kids are on there and they don't know.
Yes, so we tried to build a shield around all the kids. We have a content keeper, which filters out their ability to search certain things. We also have Gaggle, which monitors all of their keystrokes. So if a kid sends a nudity picture, we catch it and we filter it and stop it and then investigate it. Since we've gotten Gaggle, we've got over 4,000 of those, so we catch a lot there. It does happen, like this stuff's real. We also have Fortify Florida, which is a tip app, and we teach all the kids on that and make sure that they know how to make tips to us in case somebody's doing something that they're not supposed to. And then we also have all the different policies and procedures for the kids to ensure that they know how to behave. And then we train them with age-appropriate training. So they know that in kindergarten, they get age-appropriate training on the internet. And then as they progress up, the training matures with them, so.
They know about all these dangers, though, but they're the ones on the internet?
Yes, we communicate with them consistently. It's tempting. You know, we at the school side take a lot of steps to prevent them. Like, we prevent the apps from being on the devices that we give them. But if you give your kid a device, Obviously, the schools can't stop that. Like, we can't prevent the parent from giving them a device with unlimited access. So on our end, we're doing everything that we can to stop it. And then we also, communicate in real time with the parents to ensure that they know what's going on when we catch something. So we're trying.
Can you go through all those apps one more time? Because you said Twitch, which I'm not, what are the names of the apps? Oh, he's got it here, I'm sorry. There is a handout. Okay, because some of you were saying apps that I've never heard of.
Yeah,
It's like, are you smarter than a fifth grader? No, I'm smarter than a first grader, not even.
I would
Who has a
say, though,
question?
look at, just don't focus on just one, but try to educate on there, because there's so different many. I think there's like 3 million apps on the Google Store, and I think half that on the iPhone, on the Apple Store. So there's so many apps, and they come out every day. So you kind of have to evaluate every one.
And I just want to add, we have gone out and have done training, not just at school, but also with churches. We've gone out to mentor groups. So you try to talk to kids and talk to families in anytime that any of us are asked to go out and talk, we're happy to go talk with parents, with grandparents, with kids, et cetera.
We have a question here.
Hi, I come all the way from Orlando for this.
Thank you.
I've never seen any programs like this in Orlando, and I made it my duty to come out here and be a part of this. Recently, I had an incident with my child, and there was someone reaching out to her and chatting, the same MO he had up there. And thank God my oldest daughter caught it. We nipped it in the butt. But do you think that we should report that person that was trying to reach out to my child?
Absolutely.
Even though we kind of minimized the situation?
Yeah, absolutely, because you caught it.
Right.
Who else is he talking to that isn't aware of it? And what else is going on behind
Absolutely
that?
right.
So, yeah,
I
definitely get that
thought
turned
about
in.
that one, you're right.
Yeah.
What is the first step I should take on that?
You said you live in Orlando?
Yes.
So just depending on who services your address, either Orlando Beach PD or the Orange County Sheriff's Office, they're both going to have ICAC task force officers and detectives that would handle internet crimes against children. But that's the first step, is to notify whatever agency services you, because they may need the device, they may need whatever evidence is preserved. If it's on a phone and all the chats are on the phone, they're probably going to need the phone. And then they'll have to go through, depending on the timeline. Also, if this was a while ago, all the evidence may be deleted. A lot of stuff is in the cloud now, so that they may not be able to recover it. But the quicker you report it and the quicker you get them the device or guide them to where this was occurring, the sooner they're able to do something at it, with it and evaluate it.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
You got to get the microphone. The Barry has strict rules here with that microphone, so at least they let you hold it.
Okay. One is on the back row.
I want to go back to what he said about, off of her question about, you went to the schools. My kids are in 7th and 9th, and never once have I heard that somebody came and talked about internet safety. So I'm really curious about, like, who's doing the teaching. Is it one of the teachers, or is it like you guys coming in and doing that?
Yeah, it's available right on our website.
So it's do-it-yourself, the laptop, on the computer?
Yeah, on our website, on the Volusia County Schools website.
I think the question is someone actually telling the kids?
Are they doing like an assembly at schools or anything like that? Because we can tell the kids all day long what we think is safe, but we're parents, we don't know anything. So sometimes when they hear it from other people, they listen more.
So there was legislation passed a couple of years ago that there is some education and training in K through 12. So there is some going on now. If they're talking about 7th graders specifically with the internet, that I don't know, but there is education K through 12 in relation to human trafficking that was passed a couple of years ago.
We're doing it with them, or they're doing it on their own time.
Well, no, I mean, there is time that has been set aside that they're supposed to have. There's the mental health training that they all have to do. There's also, and again, in relation to the human trafficking. Now, what the school had adopted, correct.
Social emotional learning aspect.
Kim, if you want to introduce yourself, and you can jump in here, I know.
Here, wait a minute. Take the microphone.
I'm the community involvement specialist with Volusia County Schools, and I've been around for a little while. And also with Volusia County Council PTA. We've had a couple parents ask about this. There is some training that your child will be going through, and it is through like an internet kind of a process, whatever, that you can actually opt out of. You know, I'm with you, and a lot of the people in this room, we want our children to be exposed to this kind of stuff, but we also have to remember that there's a lot of parents out there who are terrified of their children seeing anything. So we have to kind of approach things in a way where you are aware of them getting the training and you can opt out of it. It is going to be middle school and high school. I don't even think our 6th graders get it. I believe it's 7th grade and up. I have to double check on that. But we did have a guidance counselor at one of our trainings that we did, one of the ones that Chitwood did, who brought up a good point that, you know, our school guidance counselors can do separate sessions, and we are going to do those in some of our schools. So if that's something that you're interested in, and any of you are here in a school locally and you want to come and see me, I will go and I will talk to the school counselors and we'll see if we can put something together, okay? Okay, thank you.
You know, you're one meeting short from perfect attendance.
Yes,
You've attended every one of these around the county.
I have attended 4. Yes, I have. So if you don't see me paying attention, it's because I've seen all this. I screenshot every single thing up there, and I did put it out on Facebook, and I can share it with you guys in case you don't want to take paper with you. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Here you go, ma'am.
Okay, I want to talk about parents. Okay, you know, I have grandchildren. My children have put parental controls on their phones. I don't know how in depth the controls are that they have on their phones. However, you know, these kids are really savvy. Can they get around these parental controls and get into stuff that they shouldn't be getting into? That's my question. And should more training be for parents and how to monitor their children?
Yeah, I mean, all of us think back to our day and age. Didn't we all do things behind our parents' back that they couldn't stop no matter what they did? So there's going to be that group that goes around that. My concern is, as I travel the county, we have so many grandparents raising their grandchildren. And I'm going to be 60 years old, and let me tell you, I can't chase an 8-year-old and 5-year around. What do I do with a 70-year-old and an 80-year-old who have no idea how to work these items? So when we go to these churches and these different social organizations, we offer to sit down and try to explain to them the best way possible to monitor what they're doing.
And they can get in through the gaming systems as well and talk to them?
Yeah, oh yeah, the bad guys? Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, I'll just say Xbox and PlayStation, like we talked about earlier in the case examples, the common denominator was chat. It's the same thing with Xbox and PlayStation. They have apps you can install on your phone, tablet, whatever, but you can chat with people. We've had sextortion cases start through Microsoft services online, through Xbox, through a game. So yes, and even Xboxes and PlayStations are not immune because of the side chatting that's always available on all the different platforms.
To let you know how savvy these scumbags are, you probably don't remember this, but it was a big splash in the news. There were 2 FBI agents who were shot in South Florida and killed serving a warrant just to get, they weren't making an arrest, they were just getting his electronics devices, and they shot and killed 2 of them. They shot and killed him, or he killed himself. That case just came to fruition. And they locked up a bunch of people, 57 people, I think, from around the world, mostly in Australia, that were connected to this guy in South Florida. They all had some type of degree in computer forensics and computer engineering, and they were able to do all of this stuff for all of these years. That's how smart and slick this group was. But it was interesting to see 2 agents killed in South Florida tied to this worldwide web of extorting and really putting our kids at harm. Yes, sir.
Well, I want to thank you for this program. You know, we all think about it, but you're bringing it out to us. Somebody's actually saying something. Now, I want to know, we saw first that your gentleman took them down pretty hard. Good. Now, what are you going to do with them? How long do they stay away? What can you do with them?
That is a question for the courts, not us.
Yeah, well, true.
We do our job. We type it up, we send the charges over, and when the attorneys and the lawyers and the judges get it, you know, some of them are life sentences. Some of them, they're not. I mean, that's, you see me, right? You see us. You see us out here. This is what we do. You don't see a judge here. You don't see a prosecutor here. You don't see a defense attorney here. Why?
You don't want me to answer.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you because it's shrouded in secrecy. What I'm proud of is when these men and women walk into a courtroom, they have done everything humanly possible to nail that son of a bitch's ass to the wall. But as you know, when it gets in there and Slick Willie starts talking and pleading, I'll tell you an anecdotal story real quickly. We had a child abuse case where the suspect was a Embry-Riddle University professor, and he was grooming a young lady from the time she was like 4. He was a family friend, and the parents would sometimes say, "Go over to Mr. So-and-so, they're going to watch you." And eventually he had her sitting naked watching porn, and eventually she went and told her mother. Well, he gets convicted of that, of child abuse and all these other things, and he's convicted in like 15 minutes by a jury. They allowed him out on bail pending his appeal, which sent me ballistic, and we were able to change the law that you cannot allow somebody convicted of something so horrendous to remain free on bail pending his appeal. And his appeal wasn't malfeasance by police, malfeasance by a prosecutor. His appeal was he didn't think the prosecutor showed that he was over the age of 18. Now, the man was a professor, for crying out loud. His education alone would tell you, because they read all that, his curriculum, where he graduated, where he was employed, and a judge allowed him, and the only reason we knew it was they're in Publix, and the little girl looks over at the next register and grabs her mother and points at him, and the family's like, how the hell is he out? So, to your point. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cheryl Thompson. I'm a senior advisor for Apple Support. Just wanted to let you know that apple.com support has a great selection of information on parental controls. If you put a parental passcode on there, don't forget it. You can't nuke that thing, and don't share it. But Apple is more than happy to speak to anyone about that gives a device to a small child. There's family sharing and restrictions that you can put on them, and we're more than happy to educate people so that we can
Thank you
protect our
for saying that. You live here in the Barry?
Orange City.
How nice is that to have somebody like you on staff with us? Thank you. I will tell you one of the problems, and Kim will tell you, and I'm sure the mayor will tell you, and all of us will tell you, is somebody said something about the parents, that they just give them unfettered access to these things, and we see that all the time. It's like the babies. Who cares? He's in the back of the car. They're quiet. Who cares? They're doing whatever. Well, we see what's going on. So.
Anyone else?
Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you guys putting this on today. I'm an evangelist. I travel around to different churches throughout Florida. I speak mostly about on the realms of addiction and how even the drug addicts are getting younger and younger and younger. So I appreciate this because I'm going to add this to the message that I take to the churches, because that's something, things like this get swept under the rug, And my kids are grown now and everything, but if my grandkids came to me and asked Peepaw for a cell phone, they'd get a jitterbug. They'd get a flip phone. If they want a video game, they get Nintendo Pong.
There you go.
I'm telling my age now.
I'm with you. I had Pong. That was my first video game.
Or even the little football players that go around.
On the metal table. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm really telling my age now. But I did have a quick question. As far as a percentage of, I know that there are also children and even teens that are snatched off the street and come up as missing persons. What would you say the percentage is with people getting actually snatched in cars by predators versus the online predators grooming and having them come out and meet them and taking them?
I want to let Lance jump in here in a minute, or DCF if they want to jump up, but we do not have that people getting snatched. We have no missing children in Volusia County.
Crazy.
Online that's
where it's at.
Through the roof. We do have, and these guys run the investigations where you do get that guy driving through the school zone, putting the window down, trying to lure a child into a car. That we probably get. What do you think? A year.
Every now and then, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 a year, if that.
But at the internet is the dangerous place. In DCF.
I just wanted to add, there was maybe it was a year or so ago. There was, again, it's important to share correct information. There was some misinformation that there was white vans that were sitting at one Daytona getting ready to snatch people. Well, Daytona Beach Police ended up having to put out resources to share that misinformation, because when you're sharing that misinformation and everyone was reporting to law enforcement, you're taking away from what they can, them really being able to investigate. So I can say, based on my experience, I have never had, again, working directly with trafficking victims, not anyone that had been snatched. But the online grooming, majority of the cases, it was the online.
Because if you watch like on Investigation Discovery, because we're big fans of the detective shows and stuff, you see a lot of videos of people becoming very brazen and even trying to snatch children out of the parents' arms.
Well, and right now, like, we're talking about what's going on in our community,
Gotcha.
not saying that doesn't happen around the world.
Gotcha.
What human trafficking looks like overseas looks much different than what it looks like here.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you.
Great questions, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone going once?
Sandbags, Mayor?
Sandbags.
Sandbags outside?
Sandbags until 8 tonight and from 8 to 8 tomorrow, DeBerry residents.
Fingers crossed we get a break.
Yeah, I hope this is just prepping for some time in the future.
Can I say one?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I just want to share, over here in West Volusia too, you also have a coalition of churches that are working together to be able to share information. They help raise funding for human trafficking survivors and housing, and it's called HOPE. So again, there's churches that are here in DeBerry, Deltona, that have put on information events with parents and kids as well.
Before you leave, we had a woman who's very passionate about this topic in South Florida, and she donated these kits to parents. It's called Lauren's Kids. She actually drove them up when she heard what we were doing and wanted to make sure that anybody who wanted these kits would take one. So they're up on the table with all the literature. So, again, thank you all very much. God bless you. Stay safe during the storm.
Thank you. Stay safe this week.